everything seems okay, right? Everything seems all right. Everything got really choppy here. As if I started, as if I was starting to drop frames. Which really never happens, quite honestly. Very strange. But the important part here is that here on a Monday stream. Monday. How is everybody doing? I'm Warren. And I hope you're all having an excellent start to your week. Hope you had a lovely weekend and that Monday treated you well. We're here to ease the pain. We're here to help you through, get over this this little humperoo that we like to call Monday. Yeah, I had a nice little weekend. Did a few things here and there. Very, nothing out of the ordinary, really. You know what I've fallen in love with, and I feel guilty about it. I feel really guilty. But I have officially fallen in love with those drinks at McDonald's, those summer drinks that they have. The blue Sprite one with the raspberry, the blue raspberry Sprite one with the cold foam on top. I think I talked about it last week, right? But I think like I'm borderlining on obsession now. I think they're really fun, and it's not as if I can have one every day. I mean, no one should have one every day. Those are not, it's not good for you, for the amount of stuff that's in it. Bad stuff, stuff that is detrimental to your overall health. It's not a good idea to have one every day. But if I could, so when I do have one, it's kind of like a highlight. It's kind of like, ooh, I just sit back and I remember it. It's like I sit back and I'm not a fan of summer. That's the whole thing. Is that it's just like I'm not a fan of summer. And when summer rolls around and it gets really hot, I just want to stay quiet. Otherwise, like I'm rambunctious. Like that, I like to I like to do stuff, and I like when stuff's happening and and whatnot. That's what I like. But I don't I don't feel active during the summer. I feel oppressed by the weather. It's not a fun time of year. We've talked about this multiple times. So my idea of a nice weekend is just like staying cool. Staying cool as much as possible. Of course, go outside. You do, you don't completely isolate. You do go out a bit. You do soak in some sunshine. That's important. You take out your doggy, all that stuff. It's not as if I'm a complete shut-in. But no, I mean, I was mostly looking forward to the debut of the G1 Climax 36, which of course happened. So that's what I was most looking forward to. And it happened. Jazz hands. Also watched Project Hail Mary. And that's a terrific film. That is the most Steven Spielberg film I have seen in years. Yeah, I'm assuming probably many of you have already seen it. I just got around to it this weekend. I just, I did, so on and so forth. And then I sort of kind of regretted it. I was like, oh no, I should have seen this at the movies. I should have gone to the movies to see this. This probably should have rocked. This probably would have rocked because it was a beautiful film. But isn't that like the thing that ultimately, you look at this movie and you're like, holy shit, this is a Steven Spielberg film. I can't be the only person who thought that. Like it really comes across as the big, sci-fi summer blockbuster that Steven Spielberg would used to do, feel good, emotional, roller coaster ride type of thing. Not going to talk about the finish, but if I'm talking about Steven Spielberg, well, then you can pretty much, you can figure out pretty much what the finish is, what the ending is. A fucking great movie. It was so much fun. So that was very good. And yeah, pretty much that. That's pretty much that. And then watch some wrestling on Sunday. That was essentially it. That was pretty much it. You know what I'd like? You know what I'd like? Just like someone to come clean for me. Do the redundant stuff. Do the things that, wow, what an original thought, Warren, right? No, but like do the original, not the original, the redundant stuff, the things that you have to do every day. Like the fucking dishes. Like that. If there was someone that could come in and just do that, and maybe dust once a week. Dusting's the worst. That's something I absolutely hate. Laundry, I don't care. I like doing laundry. You do the laundry, you get your stuff out, you put it in a basket, you bring it next to you, you turn something on YouTube and you just, you watch something as you fold some clothes. It's fine. Or you turn on a wrestling match. Go to New Japan World, you catch up a little bit while folding the laundry. Laundry, I don't mind. And I'm saying that because, yes, I got behind on dishes over the past couple of days. I was like, I don't want to do this is how I get during the summer. This is how I get during the summer. There you go. There you go. It sounds like you want to hire a housekeeper, says Travis, member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Nice to see you, Travis, and welcome. Yeah, but I feel like a housekeeper is overkill. I just want someone to do the dishes and dust. That's all I want. Just do the dishes, dust. The rest is fine. The rest is absolutely fine. Can we be that specific? Can we hire someone just for that? Because I don't want a housekeeper. I don't want someone to, do daily maintenance in my home. I'm fine. I can handle it. If I don't, well, then things build up and it's my fault and I just get rid of it. Then I just like, okay, one day I get mad at myself and I move on. Just someone to do, like, I hate the dishes. I hate doing dishes. I really, really do. I really, really do. And paint. I hate painting walls. I absolutely hate painting walls. That's a thing where it's like, and I know people and I've dated people who just like, yeah, let's change the colors of the walls. And I'm like, yuck, hack. Why? The walls are fine. Who cares what the color is, type of thing. They're like, no, we'll roll it and we'll do it ourselves. And I'm like, no, that sounds awful. And yeah, because it's all the thing when you have to put the tape at the top so that you don't get some on the ceiling, right? But then you're a fucking knucklehead, and then you when you're doing the rolling, because you're a knucklehead, well, you go up and you hit the ceiling nonetheless, and then you with the roll, because the roll is larger than the bit of tape that you put up. You still get some on the ceiling, and then and then you have to get the little step ladder, and you climb up, and you wipe it down, and then you continue. It's such a pain in the ass. And then you have to prime first. You have to do the fucking primer first, and then you have to wait for that to dry. So you can only start the next day, and then usually it takes at least 2 coats, depending on how cheap you are for the paint, right? It can take 2 to 3 coats, right? Sometimes 4, which is preposterous. At the very least, when I paint, I buy the ultra deluxe high end shit so that I'm not like I don't have the smell of paint around me for 3 days with fucking ladders and tarp everywhere. I fucking hate it. And then you take off the trim, you take off the tape from the trim, and then you sort of finish everything off with the brush. I'm like, yuck. Just bring in professionals. I don't give a shit. Or like put stuff on your wall. Just put shit on your wall. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Silver Apocalypse, nice to see you. See, it's going to take a time. It's still going to be Silver Apocalypse for a while. Nice to see you and welcome to the chat. Also a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Not a fan of the super humid heat in Florida. Brother, I don't know how you people in Florida can put up with that. Like, that has to be absolutely bonkers. The swampy humidity. I don't know how y'all put up with it. Mississippi and Louisiana. I have no clue. I legitimately think that's what drives people a little cuckoo. I really do. I think there is a correlation. There isn't that much insanity in the North Pole. Now, you might argue that there's not as many people in the North Pole. I'm usually Mr. Summerwood was 38 today in Thunder Bay. What? That's nuts. And the sky is orange. That's because of the forest fires, right? That's probably not helping air quality and not helping the greenhouse effect, or helping the greenhouse effect, in fact. JD, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Dusting bathrooms and cleaning glass are the worst. Glass only because I always end up with streaks pisses me off. I don't want to say I've mastered. I think that would be over-representing my skills. However, I have locked down how to wash glass. You really have to find the right kind of chamois to do it. And there's no, I know everyone has all these tips and tricks. JD, trust me. You go to your local hardware store and you look for the nanofibers, right? The nanofiber chamois. And then even then, you might not get a chamois that works for you. You might have to try a couple. You might have to try a couple of different brands. You might have to call some in from Amazon. But you need the nanofibers. Some that say that are specifically set for glass and stuff like that. But just because they're not all made the same. And eventually you will find some. The ones that I found are Frank brand from Canadian Tire. The old Frank. Those are the ones that work exquisitely with the Windex. Now, JD, I don't remember if you're Canadian or not. If you're Canadian, jog on in to Canadian Tire, and you have to jog. Head on into Canadian Tire and just pick up the Franks, the Franks nanofiber rags. They're tremendous. They really are tremendous. They do an excellent fucking job. Bathrooms aren't great. It's tubs that are the worst. Tubs are really the worst. Everything else is that, it's fine. Especially if you do it like weekly, you just do a little, little maintenance. Then once in a while, you do a little deeper clean, Once in a while, you just take the spray and you wipe shit down. You do the brush in the toilet and you move on, But the tubs, I agree, tubs suck. Okay, so if I were to hire someone to come, not a housekeeper, but if I were to hire someone to come to my home to do some cleaning, it would be dishes in the tub. That'd be it. That's all. That's all I'd want someone to handle. The rest is fine. And dusting. I forgot the dusting. So we're starting to get closer to a housekeeper, I guess. At this point, we're getting, but it's very selective. Like there's probably like housekeeping services which are a la carte, you know, where you sort of just select what you need, right? Or there's probably people on Fiverr who do that, right? Do people do that on Fiverr? And then they come to your home? Let's go see. Fiverr still exists, right? Yes, okay, it still does. And then let's say, okay, no, I don't want to create an account. Let's say I pop in here. Our freelancers will do. Okay, so let's say I say housekeeping. Yeah, there you go. Like, see, there, we've got people here. I will do housekeeping sign-off sheet or cleaning checklist. Well, no, that's not what I want. I will do cleaning spotless living logo with housekeeping services from Maya F, starting from $23. Oh, they do branding. It's branding. They're selling logos. They're not. Wait, hang on a second. They're just selling branding. This person says I will do home cleaning, office cleaning video ads. No, I want you to come do a video ad at my home. All right, fine. I guess Fiverr is not the right place. But I would assume that there's a service somewhere that exists where you can just pick, where it's like, I'd like you to come for like an hour or 90 minutes, and I want you to dust, I want you to do my dishes, I want you to wash my tub, and then hit the bricks. There's got to be something like that, right? There has to be. There has to be. Canadian Tire's at the opposite end of the city. I can't jog that far. I promise I'll park far away and walk briskly. That's important. It's for your heart. It's for your health. I don't like that 50 below zero cold either. North Pole ick. Yeah. I guess that's why it's not a bustling metropolis. I'll take the cold over the heat any day though. Any fucking day of the week. You kidding me? Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate you tremendously. Hey, we've got the Q&A thing open. You can see right there in the little chat box. We've got a Q&A open for tonight. And you know, it's not because the news has been slow. No, I just really do, you know, and it's not because the news has been slow and I need to crowdsource content for my stream tonight. Absolutely not. I just want to consult and interact with my community, with my audience, see what's on their mind. Yeah, pick their brains. Allow them to pick mine. See what questions they have on their mind. So the Q&A thing, we'll do that a little later. We'll do that a little later this evening. I do have a couple of topics lined up, but you know, once we run out of them, we will focus essentially on asking me questions and then me answering them to the best of my abilities. So feel free to participate. It's not mandatory yet. DGMC, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. DGMC also happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. I'm really into naps now. Is it because of summer? Summer naps is a thing for me. I love the sour mat. I love the taking the naps during the summer. DGMC also left a message. He is a 73-month member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Listen, huh? Listen. Can you beat 73 months? You better start now. Become a member today. If you don't start today, you'll never be able to make it to 73 months. Thank you for your patience all this time, DGMC. Battle baths greater than showers, that is all. What is a battle bath? What are battle baths? Or were you supposed to write bubble baths? What is a battle bath? Is it like a bubble bath, but instead of bubbles, there's like swords and plate mail? Is that what it is? Baths with a partner. Okie dokie. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. We demand collision coverage. Well, listen, we probably just might get some tonight. We probably just might. But before we do, I just want to remind everyone that this is the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. This is the live stream, the Monday live stream. We also stream on Thursdays. We stream 2 times a week here and have a good time doing it, or else. Everything I do it for you, and it is available here on the channel. Every Wednesday, there is the Mr. Warren Hayes Show podcast, which is sent out there into the universe. Up until recently, it was available everywhere, but since recently, I should say, it is now an audio-only thing, available only on your favorite podcast application: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, iHeartRadio, Real Audio Media. That doesn't exist anymore. Sometimes I pine for the Real Audio player, but most of the time I don't. But sometimes I do. So you've got all these audio these podcast platforms that carry the old Mr. Warren Hayes Show, so you can go check it out there if you don't want to miss it. And of course, there's the Dynamite review every Thursday that happens I record it over lunch typically here, and then it's available a little later on in the afternoon, both on audio and here on YouTube as well. Had a really good review of Dynamite last week. I was pretty excited about it. You can still go check that out. It's available right now. That's what's going to be coming up this week, as well as the return of the G1 Climax daily coverage. We're going to be doing it for the G1 Climax 36 this year. I've already started this weekend, because there was the show opening. The opening salvo of the tournament was in Chicago. Now there's a full week's break. And the tournament starts back this weekend as everyone is clearly like sailboating back to Japan. I don't know why it's taking so long. Like they're clearly, they're on their skiffs or whatnot. Anyway, crossing the ocean, going back to Japan, and everything will be back. Everything will be back on the weekend. So, considering all of that and how exciting all of that is, the return back of the June Japan wrestlers. Considering all of that, you need to know then that I will once again this year be covering the G1 on a daily basis every day, giving you thoughts and reviews and analysis and big picture thoughts regarding the tournament every day that there is a show. So that means most of the summer I will be poisoning your feeds with a lot of content, and that will also be available on YouTube and the podcast applications. There's already one out there. If you don't know about this, look, subscribe and whatnot. I like to think this is a nice service that I give, because frankly, there's not a lot of people out there who do some real coverage of the G1, and it hasn't been like this for years. Like some actual real deal coverage of the G1, not just like everyone is going to list the results on their websites, and they're all going to aggregate it off of each other. That's how it goes. And, that's how AI jobs work. They just grab things and put things up on their web pages. I'm going to give you more. I'm going to give you a lot of depth. I'm going to analyze. I'm going to bring you everything. Not a lot of people doing this. There's Joe Lanza that does this over at the Flagship. Right, he's been doing it for a long time, and quite frankly, he's excellent at it. I think Karen Peterson is doing it over there at Post Wrestling. Not a lot of us holding the torch for the G1, which is off to a tremendous start. But we'll talk about this in a minute. And there you go. I think that's it. Those are like the plugs and whatnot that I really wanted to get out of the way. I think that's what I wanted to get out of the way. I'm not forgetting anything. No, I'm pretty sure. There you go. Or the beatings will continue until the morale improves, Hayes. That's me. I preferred Winamp. Yes, it really did kick the llama's ass. Hey, that guy 64. Nice to see you. Welcome back. It is very nice to see you again, brother. The sailboats thing wasn't a joke. I saw a U-Haul dragging them along Main Street outside of the Now Arena. You know, they have their little transatlantic, but a trans-Pacific contest that no one knows about it. It's just New Japan wrestlers. They're all like they're all like sailing aficionados. They all like just fucking live for this time of year, right? All right. I think we're good to go. I think we should kick this off then. I think we need to get things going now. And there's only really one way to get things going, especially on a Monday. You need a nunchuck across the snout.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master.
That's
I
right.
represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling. Hoo-yah!
Is it crackling? Or is it just me? Was it crackling for you guys? Was it like what was it in the back, like as it was playing, as the music was playing? Was there like fry, crickle crackles? It sounded really off, and I got something stuck between my teeth here. Yeah, it was crackling. That's weird. My machine started acting up just as I started streaming, which is why I started the stream. I was like, is everything working? Is everything fine? I mean, it's not as if I'm doing something super intensive here. Just streaming me. You know, it's not as if I have a full game running on 4K and streaming that in the meantime. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see me play video games. I'm trying to say. Here's our lovely docket for the evening. But before we get into it, into our docket, I figured we'd kick off the proceedings by talking about some matches I watched. I ended up watching some pro wrestling, if you want to believe that. I watched quite a few. I caught up on some things, and you know, the usual stuff as well. And there's some matches that, you know, I thought I'd hop on here and talk about because it's cool, because I have stuff to say about them. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Kendall Gray versus Natty Neidhart match from, I think it was last Tuesday's NXT. Yes, I watched WWE. I watched NXT because it happens often in the Discord. It happens quite a bit in the Discord where, you know, we'll start talking about Dave's star ratings and where Dave is going to super rate a match where I look at the participants and I'm like, no way this match is as good as Dave is saying it is, right? So then I feel compelled and curious to go watch it. And that's what I did. I ended up, because for those of you who don't know exactly the context, Dave's new paramour in professional wrestling, his pro wrestling paramour, now, you know, was once Will Ospreay, was once Kenny Omega. Now it is Kendall Gray. She cannot do wrong in the eyes of David Meltzer and Little Davy Meltz. And And so, so he's been very high on her, been talking her up quite a bit. And she had a match. Apparently, she's the women's champion in NXT. And she had her first defense against the low-key legend, Natty Neidhart, this week. And, or was it the week before? Look, it doesn't matter. It was last week. It was last Tuesday. And Dave just like, he sung the praises of this match. Like, he was completely losing it over this match. Was talking about how tremendous it was. He even went as far as to say, if this match had been longer, it would be a match of the year candidate. So I did exactly what I'm doing here. Took a big fucking sign. I'm like, I'm going to have to watch this now, aren't I? I'm going to have to watch this because look, here's the reality in 2026 is that Dave-flation is real. There are matches that happen in our modern era where Dave just like goes incredibly high on the ratings, but like 1996 Dave would never rate so high. Like Dave seldom goes into the 2 territory anymore. You know, it doesn't happen as frequently as it used to, in the 2 stars, 2.5 stars, and even lower. I don't know. He's softened. He's become, I don't know. He's become softer with age. He's become more accepting of differences. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what motivates Dave Meltzer now to give his ratings, but God, it's sometimes I'm like he just goes overboard. So now he's here talking about this match being a 4.5 star match out of 5. Would have been 5 if the match had been longer. So I'm like, okay, I have to watch it. I have to watch it and see for myself and make up my own mind. And then I was like, well, then after that, I can talk about it online. And no, Chad, we are not starting weekly NXT reviews. That is not happening. That is completely off the table. In fact, and watching NXT even for this little match here reminded me why NXT is just the dirt worst, and I want nothing to do with it. Anyway, so Warren, what'd you think about Kendall Gray versus Natty Neidhart? I thought it was a very good match. It was a very, very good match. I wouldn't say great, but I thought it was very good, though. As I kind of suspected, I think Dave is overselling it because like I said, like he's got his sights set on Kendall Gray as the next savior of professional wrestling. So, that's just something that's going to happen. But I didn't think it was great. But I did think it was very good. And it's a match that's just, it is jam-packed with stuff happening in it to the point where it worked against it. And you're probably sitting there going, well, Warren, what do you mean? You action-packed match with, where people are working hard and there's, there's hard cardio happening and, just a really great pace. And you're telling me you don't like it? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's so much stuff in this match that I think it ultimately hurt it. It's what I think they wanted to do, Natty and Kendall, is have a 15-minute match or so. But they were told to pack it into 9 minutes. And that's how it comes across. Just a match that would have benefited from being longer because they were doing a lot of great stuff, but nothing had time to breathe. Everything felt rushed. Everything was like, we got to move on to the new thing, the next thing. We got to move on to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. Like, if you're one of these WWE people who complain about, Will Ospreay and the Young Bucks in AEW, nobody sells in AEW. You must have hated this match because there wasn't a lot of great selling here. The idea wasn't the selling. The idea was pushing through this match and getting as much shit in as possible. And I want to make it clear, I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me if the selling is realistic or not. You know what happens when selling is realistic? We saw it with the UFC, with the McGregor match at UFC this weekend, right? Right? You see, this is what I often tell people who start using the selling's not realistic argument. It's like, in a fight, no one shows that they're hurt. McGregor's leg was fucked, but he didn't show it. He kept at it. Because if he shows that his leg is hurt, you know what happens? They stop the fucking match, which is exactly what happened. Like, in a real fight, you're not going around going, and the commentators are going, look at him selling the neck. You know, no one does that. No one does. Like, in a real fight, you don't do that. Selling is a pro wrestling storytelling device. There is no such thing as realistic selling. It's not a thing to be a realistic seller in a wrestling match. The selling is there to tell a story, to emphasize a story. Because McGregor got fucking kicked out. They instantly ended the match when he tried to stand on his foot at one point, right? And it buckled under him. And the referee was like, nope, that's it. Anyway. Why was I saying? Oh, yeah, because there really wasn't a lot of selling in this match because they wanted to do a lot, and I think too much. 15-minute match, packed it into 9 minutes. Nothing had time to breathe. That's just it. It's like nothing had time to breathe. And I'm not saying that, you needed to slap on some headlocks more, but something. But how can a move feel impactful if there's no, let me present this another way. If you're doing a high paced start to a match, and then all of a sudden, like, one guy scoops the other guy up and body slams him, and the guy like sells it, right? And the guy who, he said, that can create like a pause, like a breath in the match, like, and then this guy here is going to take control. The guy who did the body slam is going to take control, while the guy who ate the body slam is going to sell, and then you can have another register, and then you can go back to doing quick things and whatnot. But then this punctuates the significance of the body slam as being, okay, now this is a break. We're entering, for lack of a better metaphor here, another chapter of this wrestling match. And they never did that. Like, it just barreled on. It careened. That's a really good way of describing the match. It careened towards the finish. They started doing some groundwork at first, and it felt frantic, like it felt, and I didn't hate it because it did feel, it felt very amateur wrestling. It didn't feel too pro wrestling, but it also felt like a little frantic, a little flailing. We're like trying to do just about anything where it's like, you could have focused in a little more, because the difference between pro wrestling and amateur wrestling is that in pro wrestling, you can decide what you're going to do and how it's going to come across, whereas in amateur wrestling, well, you do your moves to try and get the other guy and slam him to the ground and whatnot. So, from the get-go with the groundwork, I was looking at all this and I was like, man, ladies, calm down. Like, it's like, I'm having trouble trying to see what you're trying to do here. And it kind of lasted the entirety of the match, and but it was still good. It was still a very good match. And I agree with Dave. If they had a little more time, I think this match would have been better, because they probably could have allowed some spots to breathe. They really decided to go for a sprint, but not in the best way. They decided to do a sprint, but not in the best way, in a way where everything is just lined up one thing behind the other, and we're just plowing through everything we wanted to do, if that makes sense. That's how it came across to me. You know? And you know, Kendall Gray, she is the goods. She's the goods. She has the goods. She's the goods. She will likely be great. I agree with the assessment that everyone has about her. She is very likely going to be great, right? She's a natural. She really is. Like everything in her, there's such finesse in what she does. And especially in an environment with NXT where you've got all these NIL kids trying to figure out, you know, up from down and whatnot. She's got so many basics down. And she's already so sharp and clean in what she does. She's not a perfectly honed wrestler yet, but she's got all the tools. She's got everything to be a great professional wrestler. And so I understand when Dave goes on about her and says, you know, how great she's going to be, and how, you know, WWE fans talk about how great she's going to be. But Kendall Gray is great for reasons that are not, what's the word I'm looking for? She's great for reasons that are not valued in WWE, if that makes sense. She's great for being a great pro wrestler. She's great for being good at the meat and potatoes of pro wrestling. But when you're in WWE, there is a minimum working standard that you have to hit. Everything else is unnecessary. You need your crowd connection, you need your gimmick, you need your yeet, you need to be good on the mic. Like all of those are all the things that truly do matter in this era of TKO WWE. If and when she does go to main roster, whatever makes Kendall Gray great is going to get beaten out of her when she's up there. Because they're going to have her, you know, doing skits and nonsense, and she's going to be losing matches to Maxine Dupree, and you know that's what they're going. They're going to beat the charm out of her. They're going to beat what makes her special out of her. And I feel like there's a lot of people who don't realize that. Like Dave, I don't think Dave realizes this. He says she's going to be such a huge star for WWE. It's like, is she? Not if her thing is, I am a great wrestler, because that era is past. That just doesn't exist anymore. You can be a great wrestler and be in WWE and never be used or be underused. Your in-ring skill doesn't matter. It's your charisma. It's the way you project. It's the way you are able to maximize the house style to your advantage. And maybe Kendall Gray will figure it out. And maybe because, you know, she's talented and maybe she'll figure it out. But as a pure talent, like there's no way she's staying on top of World Wrestling Entertainment. You know what I mean? There's no way she's rising to the top in that fashion, if that makes sense. Anyway, like I said, very good match. Could have been a little longer, but even if it had been longer, I think the match would have been better, but it would have never been, like, in my opinion, I don't think it was on track to be a match of the year. I think Dave is he's a little blinded right now. And listen, I cannot stand that fucking commentary table. Cannot stand it. Cannot stand them both. Vic Joseph and Booker T. The most grating duo on commentary in all of pro wrestling. It is crazy. You move away from them a little bit and you listen to other people do the commentary stuff. And then, then you come back to NXT months and months after watching a match and you're like, these people are completely insufferable. Absolutely insufferable. They keep going on talking about Natalia. At some point, Vic Joseph says that Natty Neidhart or Natalia or whatever the fuck she calls herself, right? At this stage in her career. Absolute first ballot Hall of Famer. Booker T goes, yeah, you know, that's what you got to do, you know. And I'm like, why? How? Like from the WWE standard? Yes, because there's no standard to putting people in the Hall of Fame. There's legitimately no standard to entering the WWE Hall of Fame. You just the only criteria is to be in good standing with the people in charge. That's all. That's all you need. Because Natalia Neidhart is not a Hall of Famer in any way, shape, or form, in any legitimate Hall of Fame anywhere ever. What has she ever done? She is a nice little wrestler. She's not spectacular. She doesn't jump out of you. She's a good little wrestler. Trouble connecting with the audience. Not necessarily a good promo. She is a nice average pro wrestler who benefited from that Total Divas bullshit from years ago. I say bullshit, but you might have enjoyed it, and that's fine. But she benefited from the Total Divas thing. That's why they kept her. That's why they kept her around. And I mean, I look at her in her singlet, you know, and her hair all braided up into cornrows, looking like a shooter, right? Like Shooter Natalia. And I'm looking at her, and I'm like, I have not seen someone try this fucking hard in such a long time. This is such a fucking try hard move because I don't buy it. I cannot buy it. I cannot seriously buy Natty Neidhart, low-key legend. I cannot buy it. I just can't. This woman has spent the majority of her career doing dopey fucking shit to get herself over. This is someone whose gimmick was farting for a while. Then she'd run around with cat ears on her head, right? And her whole thing is like, oh, I love my cats. And then, as I like to bring up on occasion, and then to keep herself over, she'd spray whipped cream on her tits with her sister. How am I supposed to take someone seriously after all of that? And that's not counting my Uncle Brett, and so on and so forth. How is anyone supposed to take Natty Neidhart seriously? And it's not as if they haven't tried. It just never got over because the audience doesn't buy it. And she hangs around on NXT doing this low-key gimmick because she's not doing much on Maine these days, as far as I understand. She's going around doing these indie appearances and doing blood sport and whatnot. Kind of because the same thing. Main roster's not doing much with her. If she was that much of a Hall of Famer, don't you think she'd be on TV every fucking week? This is the most fabricated case for a Hall of Fame, or for giving some depth to one's legacy, as I have seen in a long time. It's all so incredibly contrived and fabricated. Like, just because WWE commentators are calling her the low-key legend, she's one of the all-time greats, is it? Nope. There's people that are buying that. That's the thing. Just because they're saying it, there's people who are saying, I don't know, she's a great one. She's one of the greats, all-timer. I dare anyone to name me the top 5 Natalia Neidhart matches of all time. I'm sure she's a great trainer. I have no doubt she's a very good trainer. And that's okay. It's very good. And good for her. But as far as a performer goes, it's not she ain't what she's cracked up to be, let me tell you. Anyway. Hey Kristen, nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the chat. Also member of the channel of the Warren Hayes channel. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Mr. Antox, nice to see you and welcome. You can't be the I'm a wrestler gimmick without some pizzazz to her. You can be the I'm a wrestler gimmick, because you know who did that? Katsuyori Shibata. But the thing is that Katsuyori Shibata got into the ring and dismantled his opponents, right? Katsuyori Shibata, at the peak of his powers, was one frightening motherfucker to wrestle. Okay? There's no one going around saying, oh, Natalia's so scary, because she has no credibility. There's no credibility to Natty Neidhart for the reasons that I all went through. Katsuyori Shibata, though, he'd twist you up. He'd knock you the fuck out. It's a stiff worker. He got that reputation from just being who he is. Black trunks, you know, the towel coming in and kicking ass and going home. Hitting the pay window. You know, Natty Neidhart is, you know, she's pretending to be a shoot wrestler. She's having a lot of fun doing it. And good for her. Is Natty such a low-key legend that I'm incapable of seeing what makes her legendary? Yes. Yes, you see, you're not paying enough attention. Amateur wrestling is some of the worst put together matches ever. Literally watched Makachev and some other dude work a rest hold for like 20 minutes, thumbs down. No, because it's not supposed to be a show. It's a competition, you know. So basically, she'd be a better fit in Japan. You know what? Send her to Sendai Girls these days. You know. See, this gimmick that she has going, I'd like her to put up or shut up. This is the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, go do a Surrealism main event. Let's see how you last 22 minutes getting the shit kicked out of you by Suri. Go fight Iroha. Let's see how that turns out for you. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, okay, you're a big tough guy, gal. Go right ahead. Great wrestlers went extinct worldwide when Mayu left for America. You see, I'm sorry to hear you still haven't made peace with that. That makes me sad. No, see, to be clear, she's going to be in the Hall of Fame, in the WWE Hall of Fame. And they'll probably do maybe the second ballot with her, like, you know, whatever. Very likely. She's very likely going to get into the Hall of Fame. But the WWE Hall of Fame has no standards. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who gets in or out. Everyone is in. Everyone gets in. Everyone eventually gets in. Even the people who sued Vince in the CTE trial are getting in, like Demolition this year. And that's why they were never inducted, because Vince was like, fuck these guys, they tried to sue me. Them and a bunch of other guys. I just Googled Kendall Gray to see if her finisher was called Shades of Grey. She's in good hands. Yes, yes, it is. The only thing that's legendary about Natty is how long she's been in WWE, 20 years in January. Can you believe that? I can't believe it. Megio Cannon, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also, a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. I think the Japan thing was for Kendall Gray, not Natty. Natty ain't about that, sorry. Well, I mean, sure. The thing is that I have more faith that Kendall Gray will know how to handle, let's say an excursion to Marvelous. I'm sure she'll be able to handle that better than Natty would. Natty be completely lost. Or she'd work like she never worked before. I refuse to give a single shit about that fake ass Hall of Fame. No one in their right mind should. Hey, it's Anakin JMT jumping in. Member for 73 months. Thank you very much for your continued support, Anakin. It is always appreciated. And he has this question here that we'll throw into the Q&A section once we get there. But thank you, Anakin. I appreciate it. What else did I watch? I mean, I wanted to give thorough thoughts on that one. I caught up with some New Japan before the G1 started. I highly recommend, if you ever get a chance, to go around to watch Gabe Kidd defeat Shota Umino for the Global Heavyweight Championship over there, and it was on July 6th in Kirken Hall. That was a really kick-ass match. And I'm telling you, look, we talked about it a bit on the G1 preview last week, and I'm going to say it again. I'm starting to turn the corner on Shota Umino. I think he's improving. I think there's still holes in his game. I think one of his main holes is crowd connection. I think he doesn't know how to connect with the audience as a pro wrestler. But as far as his work goes, I think he's putting it together. I think he's getting it. Something is clicking. He's putting in the work. I enjoyed the hell out of that match. I thought it was awesome. Gabe Kidd was great. Looks great. Tremendous performance by both guys. That was awesome. And then there was also Yo, who successfully retained the IWGP Light Heavyweight Championship against Francesco Akira. That was really good too. That was another excellent match. Despite my dislike of Yo, and the shenanigans that he does, like, he's a perfect DDT style wrestler. I just don't want. There's a reason why I don't watch DDT and why I don't sit around and shit on DDT. It's because it's out of my purview and it doesn't interest me, because it's not the kind of wrestling I want to watch. But then when that kind of wrestling seeps into the wrestling that I like and that I am watching, then I have a problem with it. And Yo would be he would be a megastar in DDT. I don't know why he's still sticking around New Japan. But this match with Francesco Akira was tremendous. Of course, Akira rules. And it was excellent. Like, that entire final third of that match was just that's the thing that saved it for me. Because they abandoned doing all sorts of goofy shit and they just focused on having a great juniors match. And it was tremendous. And that's on the same Kurikan show. And then, of course, I watched AEW Collision. Just a couple of wee things happening there. That's a good wrestling show. It's all, most of the time, Collision, solid pro wrestling show. Of course, Hangman's big return to AEW, first time since losing his shot at the AEW World Championship at Revolution against was it at Revolution or was it at Dynasty? It was at Revolution. When was that Revolution? Against the MJF, that MJF fella. I thought this was an absolutely spectacular promo that he cut. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. Starts off being Hangman and and his gardening, and you could hear when he started talking about his gardening, you could hear all the Hangman fans on Blue Sky all start to swoon. You could hear it. You could go just going like this, batting their eyes. There's a hurricane that started up because of all the eye batting that was going on by the Hangman fans. And then, and essentially established the fact that moving forward, he's like, I can't challenge for the world championship anymore. That, it's done. But oh my gosh, like there's a whole bunch of other gold here that I can go for. And that's what I thought was so excellent, because he made it feel like nothing was under him and that everything was attainable to him. And to me, that just helps every other belt. It helps every other belt here going. It just helps every belt to go and just be improved. They have their status improved is what I meant to say. Raise the bar for all the titles there, because Hangman wants them. Talking about my old partner Kevin Knight, and you're like, oh yeah, there is a bit of history there. Oh man, if he goes after the TNT title with Kevin Knight, that's a little something juicy right there, right? Talked about Kyle Fletcher and look, I honestly, I thought it was an excellent promo. And it really did end up clarifying everything, and also making sure that the AEW fans understand that Hangman is ready to do just about anything, and he'll be good in whatever spot he ends up in. He just proved it. Just by saying those few words, he proved it. Like, whatever I do, I'm going to do it, and it's going to be great. There you go. That's really all you need. It was a great promo, and look, and then he walks away. Who knows when he's going to show back up? Is he going to be back in time for All In? Also mentioned he was injured. That sucks. A lot of people said, oh, he's off making babies again. And there was in his Chiron was written, has got a vasectomy. I was like, the Page lineage is done. We have our quota of children. Anyway, I thought the segment was great, and it was a very good Dynamite, headlined by an excellent fucking match with Mark Davis and Speedball for the national title. If you haven't watched that match, you highly recommend it. It is absolutely phenomenal. And yes, it's small guy versus big guy, but not in the classic tropey way. It's just really good. Speedball is such a good pro wrestler, and so is Mark Davis. He's going to be one of the most underheralded big guys in pro wrestling, just because we're in an era where big guys like him are not the commodity. We're looking for smaller, more agile, more nimble guys. Yet he's fucking agile and nimble. Right? He just doesn't look the part. I fucking love Mark Davis. This match was fantastic. And a top tier, excellent match that had, look, I was going to say had no right to reason, had no right to main event a collision, like be limited to that. This was a pay-per-view quality match. It was so excellent. You absolutely need to check it out if you haven't watched it. It is phenomenal stuff. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. So there you go. So that's my little catch up on and thoughts on some matches and happenings in pro wrestling recently. I believe in Shooter again. I think he'll eventually find his way as the squeaky clean babyface to Tsuji's heel tweener anti-hero long term. That is right. I agree, but that is until Ryohei Oiwa comes for him. Then he's done. That boy is cooked. Once Oiwa gets the push, they're all done. I'm glad Hangman reiterated that the stipulation is on his honor and not in the AEW rulebook. That's a very good point. And you see, I wanted to mention this, and I almost forgot. I think there's a very clear reason why they decided to go this route and why they made it so specific and clear. That opens the door for Hangman to challenge again. Well, Warren, he just said he's got his word. Let's say his friends plead with him, and get him to do the right thing for whatever reason. The classic story where Hangman's back is against the wall, and he wish he could do something about it, but he can't. Hangman, you're the only guy who can do it, and all his friends are pushing him, and fan support swells behind him. If they tell the story right, I think it can be very compelling. But the fact that they made it just a question of honor is very fucking interesting. Or Hangman just turns heel and goes, fuck y'all, I'm challenging for the title. You know what I mean? That to me is an escape hatch to get out of this. Instead of having it been in a contract. I think that's what he said, right? It's not binding. We haven't signed any paperwork about it. It's just my honor and I give you my word. Yeah. We know how anxious you can get, Hangman. It's very, I mean, look, there's a reason why they went so explicit with it. And there might not be a short-term payoff to this, to him saying that. Might not be short-term, might not even be medium-term. Might be much further down the road. But there's a reason why they set this seed. Talking about seeds. There's a reason why they planted that seed. Because he's a gardener. Anakin JMT, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. And we will add the question to the Q&A in just a few. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I saw the Hangman get carted out at Revolution. They made sure to wheel the stretcher right next to us to get our reactions. Aubrey was even playing concerned. It was incredible. As they should. You're getting rid of your top guy. Of course you should. I have complete faith that AEW Hangman will succeed with this stip where Cody failed, no matter how long they go with it. Yep. I agree. I can't believe Hangman got a vasectomy on his own time. They could have used that for a match stipulation. Stop having kids. Like it's Tony Khan stepping in. He's like, look, I'm sick of all this paternity leave. If Tony Khan was a heel authority figure, right? I am sick of you coming out here, wrestling, and then disappearing because you're on paternity leave. Hangman, next week, you versus Brian Cage. And the loser gets a vasectomy. Like, why Brian Cage? Thank you everyone, by the way, for being here. I hope you're having a good time. Let's go to our doc here. Get these little tidbits out of the way. Injury contract news. Callum Newman has he's reportedly been injured, right? Again, apparently he's still hurting, not completely healed from his injury that he suffered at the hands of Yota Tsuji at Dominion, which put his G1 in peril. Let's read this article from the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. Newman dislocated his shoulder during his match against Yota Tsuji at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Dominion last month. He returned on Saturday for the opening night of the G1 Climax 36, defeating Yuya Uemura. On Saturday's edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that Newman did not appear to be fully healed and revealed that he had only been medically cleared to return to the ring on Monday. Newman posted to social media on Sunday stating that while his arm still hurts, it was his decision to compete in the G1, writing, "Tape and Tokan, my arm still hurts, but it was my decision to compete in the G1. I've got something to prove, not just to myself, but to everyone praying for my downfall." Meltzer had the following to say regarding Newman on Wrestling Observer Radio. Quote, "I didn't sense that Newman is necessarily 100%. He actually just got cleared on Monday. There was a chance that even though he was adamant that he was going to wrestle, there actually was a good chance he might not have made the first week. They could have just delayed it a week if worst came to worst." Because they did it with Gabe Kidd last year when that stuff was happening. But look, the Prince is toughing through. The Prince is toughing through, and look. There's been a lot of talk and speculation about the true severity of this injury, whether or not Newman is maybe playing it up a little bit, that the media is being fed maybe not a lie, not an outright lie, but that he might be exaggerating a little for effect, that he might be less injured. A lot less injured than he's letting on. Not unlike Kazuchika Okada a couple of years ago doing a G1 with a herniated back, where everyone bought, except people who've had hernias in the past, where they're like, no, if he has a hernia, there's no way he's walking around the way he is. Right? Like there was no way. He's not even taking bumps, just like walking around and, hopping and jumping into the ring, not with a herniated back. Anyway. So is this what we're doing here, right? Is this what I think he did get hurt against Yota Tsuji, don't get me wrong. I just don't know if he's as hurt as he's letting on. Or as the rumors are going around. I don't know. I don't, because there's something very badass about this idea of Callum Newman going through a G1 with, on the verge of not being medically cleared. You add that to the story, you add that to the drama. It's very interesting. He could get away with it. I don't hate it. But anyway, look, it's speculation on my part. But look, he was cleared last Monday for what that's worth. Then again, I find it really strange if they were unsure that he was going to be cleared on time, why they'd put him in the field in the first place. It's just a lot of things that are making me scratch my head is all. But good for him for being in the tournament and not being out with an injury. Well, look at who we have here. It has been 7 years since the birth of All Elite Wrestling. And today, news broke, today being the 10th of July when the day that was this article that we're reading was published on the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. And today, news broke that the company had re-signed 3 wrestlers who had been there since the beginning. According to a report at Fightful Select, the Dark Order, Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds have all signed new contracts. Earlier this year, Fightful Select learned that a number of contracts were coming up in All Elite Wrestling. The report reads, Among those were members of the Dark Order. However, that's no longer the case. Fightful Select has confirmed that numerous members have re-signed and will be remaining with the company. It is believed that Evil Uno, Alex Reynolds, and John Silver all signed new deals with the company to remain there. Good. Congratulations. Good for them. Uno appeared at the inaugural AEW event Double or Nothing in May of 2019. Along with Stu Grayson, he led the Dark Order's so-called Creepers in an attack on the Best Friends, Angelico and Jack Evans. Sports fans, how far have we come? That's crazy. That's like 7 years ago. And the Dark Order was coming in with the Creepers, all forming a throne for Evil Uno to sit on, attacking Best Friends, Angelico and Jack Evans. Incredible. Silver and Reynolds appeared soon after, losing to Santana and Ortiz on Dynamite in October of that year. Silver was last spotted on AEW television in May, part of a segment where every available bald man was thrown together backstage to taunt MJF, who was at risk of losing his hair to Darby Allin at the time. Before that, however, none has wrestled in AEW since December of last year, when they lost a trios match to Hook and Katsuyori Shibata and Powerhouse Hobbs on Dynamite. That's incredible stuff when you think about it. Anyway, good for them. You know, it sort of goes in line with things that we've heard about and talked about in the past, where Tony Khan, when it comes to people who stuck with the company during the pandemic and who worked really hard and were there every week and gave everything they could to AEW at the time, those people are pretty much guaranteed jobs for life at AEW. You know, that's why a guy like Kip Sabian still has a job, despite the fact that, well, I know they were trying to use him a little more, but even before that, you know, Tony's going to be very loyal to those people. And the Dark Order 100% fall into that category of people who are obsessively involved with the pandemic. In fact, you know, pandemic era wrestling is pretty much identifiable with the Dark Order and everything that was, you know, in the BTE and all of that with Brody Lee. I mean, they're right into the fabric of that. That was probably some of the best stuff from the pandemic. Because, folks, we can romanticize as much as we want about, you know, pandemic era wrestling, pandemic era AEW. Listen, I listen to the AEW Fast channel on my AEW while waiting for Dynamite to start up. You know, and it's in the background, and sometimes I just stop and watch whatever I'm doing. Boys and girls, it was rough. It was really fucking rough. And I really don't know how else to put it. And we can sit back and romanticize and talk about, oh, you know, they were doing their best and we're taking great risks and no, it was good nonetheless. Ugh. It was tough. I don't think we know how good we have it right now. I really don't. Anyway, good for the Dark Order. Good for them. Mouse is over here for some reason. TK should start a wrestling assistant living retirement home. A real Hall of Fame. Speaking of Evil Uno, you going to Mystery Wrestling? I don't think so, because I'm arriving on the Sunday. And I think I might be arriving mid-afternoon. So no, I don't think so. Gotta say, bit surprised. They have not done much with them unless they're being used on Ring of Honor. They are used a little in Ring of Honor, yes. I think Uno has some extra. Duties. Duties. Yeah, it was rough, but there was AEW rough and WWE rough, and WWE rough was way worse. It was all bad. It was just all bad. The fucking Thunderdome. My God. I legit haven't seen Silver wrestle in like 3 years. I mean, that's probably it. Wait, the last time I saw that I remember seeing him wrestle was a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, right? It was a Ring of Honor pay-per-view with The Righteous. Was Silver even wrestling in that one? It was a fight without honor. And it was The Righteous and I think Stu Grayson. Yeah, it was the Dark Order versus The Righteous and Stu Grayson, right? They had given Stu another chance. They'd given another shot. Austin Gunn is greater than Thunderdome. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Hey, have you heard? There's been a press release sent out by the NWA. They are bringing back NWA Empower, the all-women's show that they did 4 years ago at this point. They're bringing it back, baby. And they have a press release sent out and everything. And we should read it. NWA Empower returns August 28th. Special live event produced by Kenzie and Kylie Page's NWA Crossfire promotion to stream live and for free on NWA's YouTube. The National Wrestling Alliance is proud to announce the return of the acclaimed NWA Empower, taking place on Friday, August 28th at the Sevierville Civic Center in Sevierville, Tennessee. Presented in association with the Page Sisters Crossfire promotion, the event will stream live on the NWA YouTube channel beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for free. NWA Empower celebrates the outstanding athletes of the NWA Women's Division while also featuring top stars from across the National Wrestling Alliance and the NWA Territory System. The return of the event continues the NWA's commitment to showcasing the best that professional wrestling has to offer while honoring the organization's rich history that continues into the modern era. The inspiration for NWA Empower was always about providing a platform for those who need to be heard from and loudly. And who better than Kylie and Kenzie Page, NWA champions in their own right, to steward and promote the return of this historic event as the owner-operators of Crossfire Wrestling. Where together they've booked the card and the show I presented proudly under the vaunted aegis of the National Wrestling Alliance, and we hope you will join us all. So there's a pre-show and the tickets are on sale now. General admission tickets only $20. First 2 rows at ringside seating $25. It's a steal, fellas. It's a steal. If you're in Tennessee, change your plans. Whatever you're doing at the end of August, change your plans. You're going to Tennessee. Get yourself some front row tickets for $25 a shot. So that's coming back. The Acclaimed is not unempowered. You weren't listening. So, I mean, look, I was at the first Empower show, and I thought it was quite good. You know, and they aired it. It took place on the night before the NWA anniversary show, so I was there for both shows. And the Empower show was vastly superior to the NWA anniversary show the next night, which was the complete pits. It really wasn't good. And so I get to so you know what made the Empower show work was that it had wrestlers from all sorts of promotions. This was 2021, come to think of it. Yeah, that makes sense. Now that I think about it properly, it's 2021. And there were wrestlers from, AEW. There were wrestlers from, of course, the NWA and all across the indies. It was, TNA, Impact, I should say. There were, it really was a coming together. It was all put together by Mickie James, and she was helped by Gail Kim, women who have been in the business for a while and had all of this figured out, so to speak. In this circumstance here, I'm just wondering what this show is going to look like, because there's no way this is going to be on the same level as Empower last year, right? Like, there's no way it's going to be close to as good as when I say last time. Like, there's no way that they can hit the diversity and the interest of that they had back in the day, unless we really start opening up the valves and people sort of reconcile and start talking again, because the whole Empower show sort of ended with on a bit of a sour note with with the whole Tony Khan, Billy Corgan sort of passive aggressive shots at each other, where Tony basically saying, look, I was paying for some of the women there. I was paying for them to be there, paid their flights and whatnot, I mean, I would be shocked that Billy has all of his shit together enough to turn around and do this. Plus, I distinctly remember Billy Corgan later on, after the event happened, and all of this grumbling that he had about, where Tony Khan was, didn't Tony Khan say something to the effect, a thank you would have been nice, something to that effect, and he got really upset, Billy did, and started talking about, Empower, it is what it is, but I didn't make any money on it. That's why there hasn't been an Empower since 2021. This was not a profitable venture for the NWA to bring all of these talent in from the outside, pay for them, and so on and so forth. It just didn't make any money on it. So what do you think they're going to do this year? What do you actually think they are going to be doing this year? It's all going to be local talent. It's going to be people from Kenzie and Kylie's promotion. It's going to be, some of their friends that they're going to fly in, that they might come in as a favor, whatnot, But they're not opening up the purses to bring in AEW talent anymore or stuff like that, Like, it's not going to be under the celebratory feel that it once had, especially since, the NWA has practically no buzz. So, like, the way I see it is that this is happening because they figured out a way to do an all-women show in which the NWA won't lose any money. I mean, it's being produced by Kenzie and Kylie, right? So they're probably fronting the majority of the bill. And the NWA, said, oh yeah, we can back you up. We'll give you some money. This is not going to be the same type of show at all. At all. But I did find one thing interesting, though. I did find one thing really interesting, that this news came out, the press release was released on a day where Billy Corgan headed on over to Busted Open Radio to praise Triple H and Nick Khan and WWE for their support of the National Wrestling Alliance. I'm like, what? Let's read this article here off of SES Scoops. Billy Corgan has credited WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque and WWE President Nick Khan with providing behind-the-scenes support for the National Wrestling Alliance. Corgan frames the cooperation as a byproduct of Triple H's personal appreciation for old school NWA. The NWA owner made the comments while promoting the promotion's 78th anniversary show set for July 25th at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. Corgan, who bought the NWA in 2017 and has served as its president and creative head ever since, spoke about the relationship during an appearance on Busted Open Radio. He described WWE as the industry's driving force while stressing that its executives have gone out of their way for him privately. Here's a quote coming. Of course, thank you, Nick Khan and Triple H. The support of the NWA has been mind-blowing to me. Of course, WWE is the industry leader. They drive most of the conversation, but behind the scenes, WWE has treated me like gold. I have nothing but praise for them. They've just been amazing with me. So what can I say? Maybe that's just at the end of the day, Triple H being a fan of old school NWA. It means something to him that the NWA has come back to. Praise arrives alongside cross-promotional cooperation that has allowed WWE's Natalya to appear on NWA programming. Corgan confirmed that she will be in wrestling action tied to NWA 78, calling it a match the promotion is excited to feature. That kind of outside talent involvement fits a pattern Corgan has leaned on to draw eyes to the NWA, positioning it as a traditional alternative that can still work with the sport's biggest company. His openness to that dynamic has been documented before, including his stated willingness to see NWA operate as a developmental system for WWE. Corgan called the anniversary lineup the strongest the promotion has assembled, though he noted some bouts remain unannounced due to the delayed nature of NWA television. Promotional materials for the show highlighted a title defense as a centerpiece. There you go. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that curious? That on the day that a press release comes out, where that a press release comes out talking about the Empower show and whatnot, Corgan hops on Busted Radio and starts lauding WWE and all their help. Because yes, we do recall that William Patrick Corgan, did say that he wanted he would like the NWA to become a WWE territory. That's something that he feels good about, that he would like to see happen, right? But ultimately, he's in this relationship with WWE, so maybe this is exactly where we're going with this. There's got to be something more to this relationship than just setting Shooter Natalya to a show once in a while. For him to be sitting there and saying, boy, man, Nick Khan, Triple H, they treat me like gold. Now, do I think he's taking a couple of shots at Tony Khan in the meantime? Sure, because Tony Khan didn't treat him like gold. Tony Khan treated him like, like a carny, maybe. I don't know. But he definitely didn't treat him like gold. We know that. So is this Billy Corgan buttering it up and, being a little carny of his own, saying, oh yeah, the WWE executives, man, they love me. They just love me and they're so cool. And Triple H, man, he loves the NWA. You're like, sure. Maybe. But if there's a nugget of truth to this, and he's glazing the WWE top guys as much as he is here, in order to in order to, I guess, yeah, make the relationship look really solid, right, between everyone, then I do wonder, well, what kind of extra support is WWE giving them? Because do we see it? I don't see it. I don't see any kind of extra support. They're not sending talent. Like, this is not a talent exchange thing like WWE did with TNA. They just send Natalya once in a while. Do they have a bunch of surprises lined up for the anniversary show this year? What are they at? 79th? Is that what they said? 79th anniversary? 70, 76, 79, 78. You know, do they have, are WWE guys going to show up? Is CM Punk going to show up? And NWA 78? No, he's not. Let's be honest, he's not. What is this support? What is he talking about? Personally, like, quite frankly, I think Billy is just working the media. He's just getting out there doing some good PR, saying, hey, yeah, these guys are great. We love them. They love the NWA. Because I am sure, like, he wants to become a developmental territory for WWE, which, in other speak, he wants to offload his company onto WWE. And I'm pretty sure that's what Anthem is trying to do too. So, it's a race to the bottom, quite frankly. I don't know. Like, I don't know what kind of, I don't know what these guys are doing. It's curious to me, again, that Corgan is out there just delivering such effusive praise for Nick Khan and Triple H. And as a viewer, as someone who, like, let's say, tunes into the NWA and whatnot, you're like, well, where's all this good stuff? Where is it? It's just like not happening. Where are the good things that come out of this relationship? Are they just keeping the NWA afloat? Is this like a Vince McMahon bankrolling ECW type of situation? We don't know. But this is a very curious, very, very curious thing. And look, you know what might just happen? This Empower show might end up with some people from Evolve on the show. Maybe an NXT person or two. And Shooter Natty continuing her legendary run. So there you go. That's what I got. That's what I got. Billy Corgan sees Carlos Silva and thinks, man, how can I get that guy's job? Pretty much. To be honest, Warren Corgan is so stupid, he might actually think he's getting a great deal by only receiving IRL shooter Natty Neidhart once every other month. Could be. He could be. Look, if he's delighted in getting Natalya, who never drew a dime, and what kind of business is she turning over for the NWA? I haven't heard anything about Natalya being announced for an NWA show and drawing tickets. Have you ever heard of this? No. Fucking Hall of Fame ballot bullshit discussion. The first one was so good live. I'm trying to give the second one a chance, but all I know is that Corgan he talked about how it was a losing proposition, how he lost money on it, how it wasn't profitable. So the only reason he's doing this here is because he knows that he's not losing money and it's going to be off of the back of the talent. It's just as simple as that. I hope everyone realizes that. Corgan should sell and focus on pissing off his band members into leaving. The one thing he is truly great at. Hey, Obscurity Knox, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also a member of the channel. The WWE is going to send the corpse of Pat Patterson to headline a card or two. Or do a hologram match. Which, by the way, we haven't spoken about it in a while. But that Saudi show next year, I am still prepared to hear that on the WrestleMania card in Saudi next year, there's going to be like a hologram match between two dead wrestlers. They're going to do a rematch between like Andre and Hogan. And it's going to be these 3D hologram things. And I'm not even joking. What's Corgan going to say when he loses money again? Yeah, who can he throw under the bus this time? I would forgive Corgan for all his sins if he put the NWA title in Corino and played him out to the ring like it's 2000 again. Steve or Colby doesn't matter. Natty Neidhart broke 1,000 farts, never drew a dime. There you go. That's how we'll remember her. All right. Let's switch over here. No music. Hello? And my computer's, everything's acting weird again. We don't want the music just yet. Not just yet, music. Not just yet, music. We're not ready for that. We are instead ready for Q&A. You guys and gals, non-binary pals, left a lot of questions for me to answer, so we might as well get right to it. Starting with Anakin JMT, who did this one via Super Chat. And thank you again, Anakin. I appreciate it. So why doesn't AEW just stick to Saturday pay-per-views? Sunday nights are bad because people work the next day. Because there is tremendous amount of competition, sports-wise, and entertainment-wise, because it just so happens that on Saturday nights, a lot of people go out. And it just so happens that a lot of people on Sunday night do not. Now, this idea where, people work all morning the next day. WWE has had its pay-per-views on Sundays for decades. The Saturday pay-per-views it's been 18 months, just about. It's a fairly new thing. The pay-per-views on Saturdays. They had been following the Sunday model for a long fucking time. The only reason Tony Khan doesn't do the pay-per-views on Sundays is to not interfere with the NFL. That's the only one. So that's why during the NFL season, they're on Saturdays, but get stiff competition. There's stiffer competition during the fall, during the winter on Saturdays because of college sports and because people just go to shows. People go out for dinner. It's Saturday night. Because you're right, people don't work the next day, so people go out and do things. That's essentially why. But if Tony Khan decides to, stop with, if Tony decides to no longer have really long pay-per-views, all of this goes away. But that's entirely up to him, right? That's entirely up to him. What are the odds of Aunt Pam going to AEW? I would say 55%. I am not super duper convinced. I think they're going to make a huge play for her, but I am not super convinced that she is absolutely going to AEW, but they're going to do everything they can to bring her in, particularly to keep Mercedes happy. If that's what Mercedes wants. Because the one thing you need to know about Tony Khan is that he doesn't like jumps. He doesn't like it when his wrestlers go to WWE. When people he signed, I should say, go to WWE. And he will do anything to prevent that. Just like he threw tons and gobs of money to Powerhouse Hobbs to try and keep him, but Hobbs was dead set on going to be jobbed out on Friday Night SmackDown. So there you go. All right, here's another question from Travis. What the heck does the rest of this redemption card going to look like? That's an excellent question. We talked about it a bit on stream last week. I'm thinking, first of all, this is all going to get settled. This, at least the main attractions, they're all going to get settled this week on Dynamite, because we've got literally 2 weeks left after this. We've got 2 weeks left before redemption. So I'm thinking on Dynamite this week, we're going to get our 2 top matches. And I think one of them is going to be Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley for the World Championship. And the reason behind that is Kenny just continuing to express his distrust of the Death Riders, and how he feels he'll continue to tell Will how he feels like they're not to be trusted, and so on and so forth. Jon Moxley, he's gonna stab you in the back. He's gonna he's gonna plastic bag you, at the first possible occasion, and that'll draw out Mox, and Mox will be like, hey, you got something to say to me? Say it to my face, type of thing, and it's going to lead to this match. And then at the pay-per-view, Kenny is going to do stuff that's going to put Will in a position where he's going to have to choose between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega, friendship, or it'll be one of these moral quandaries type of thing. And he's going to end up choosing Mox, and that's going to piss off Kenny, and that's going to add some animosity for the match at Wembley Stadium. That would be the big brushstrokes that I'd go with. And the second match, I think, is going to be Will Ospreay versus MJF. MJF is going to challenge Will to put up his shot at Wembley Stadium. Said, something to the effect of, you interfered in my match. You cost me my Wembley match. The least you could do is allow me the opportunity to challenge you for your shot at Wembley. But he's going to say it in an MJF type of way, where it's going to be, a lot nastier. I think those are the 2 top matches. Those are the 2 top matches that are going to be there. And then Willow versus Tekla, right? That's a thing that's going to happen. And yeah, the rest, your guess is as good as mine at this point. But I think those, I'd bet money on those 2 matches. Willow and Tekla is set, but those 2 other matches, I feel pretty good about that. DGMC left a couple of questions. Let's go through them, shall we? Is Brett's hatred for Goldberg a work? No. Is having the Hardys book TNA a better or worse idea than Officer Colt Cabana being the top heel in Russo's JCW? I'll try to answer this semi-seriously. The best idea for a booker in TNA would be to try out someone completely new. Someone who has never been in this position, someone who is not old, someone who is plugged into the business today, and who has a good grasp of the fans today. That's who your booker should be. I had a meeting with the DC Attorney General last week and forgot to shake his hand. Speaking of politics, why isn't Mustafa Ali the top guy in TNA? I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch TNA, so I couldn't tell you. Mustafa Ali is probably just hanging around there waiting for Triple H to call him back. Oh. Is The Miz a legit Hall of Famer by non-WWE standards? By non-WWE standards, absolutely not. Zero, zilch, nothing. Not even remotely close. Doesn't have the working standard. And like this guy has not had any excellent matches. He has no memorable catalog. And he has that. Here's another guy that hasn't drawn a dime in his entire life. No. Not at all. Can't remember which Dark Order member said that they could be AEW's Bullet Club, but ideally, how could that happen? What, turn them all heel as evil Yeehaw Man's minions as he succeeds Brody Sr.? Make Hangman the leader of the Dark Order, a heel Hangman the leader of the Dark Order? That's what I'm getting? Is that what I'm understanding? No, that sounds awful. Why am I trying to think of this? No, that sounds terrible. No, we don't need... the Dark Order is a nice little relic of AEW's past. And that's where it belongs, and it's fine. And, you know, I don't think there's really a path forward for the Dark. I don't think there's a path forward for the Dark Order as a unit that will have any kind of legitimate impact on the main roster moving forward. I think this entire roster has overcome. Let me say that again. I think the entire roster has improved dramatically since the days of the Dark Order when things were as they were. I think you bring in an act like the Dark Order in 2026, you know, like you debut it here in this era with this roster, it doesn't get over. It's a completely different set. It's a completely different environment. They worked fine for the era, but I don't really see a path forward for them. You know, they might as well just stop calling each other the Dark Order and start calling each other the Beaver Boys again and have Evil Uno do Evil Uno things, and that's fine. You know. The Dark Order we once knew is no longer here. Question from Pedro the Fifth. What are your thoughts on the build of Ospreay's journey from his return at Revolution up till now, joining the Death Riders and the build to All In against Omega? I overall like it. I think it's pretty good. The issues that I potentially can have is that this kind of stuff. See, okay, I want to say too many things at once. I love Will Ospreay as a professional wrestler. I think he's tremendous. I am in the group that believes that he is one of the greatest of all time right now, and that we are privileged to be able to see one of the absolute great all-time greats perform at their peak right before our eyes today. The problem that I have with Will is not his wrestling, is sometimes his instincts. Sometimes Will gets to be a little melodramatic. He likes to lean into the stories a bit, get a little, he leans into the melodrama, and then it adds layers to matches where you didn't necessarily think they were necessary. He's pretty good at that. And this is the only thing that's making me worried in regards to his his involvement or the story, how it's going to play out. Like, I was not a fan of him running in to get the ring off of MJF last week. You know, talked about it on the review. It was a point of criticism for me, but did not like end up destroying my appreciation of the match. You know, I enjoyed it nonetheless. I fear sometimes that Will can. I fear sometimes that Will can do a little too much, and then it just like overtakes the match, and then you lose focus on what's really important, which is the in-ring story you're trying to tell. But as it stands right now, because that's what you were asking, I don't have any issues really with the progression. There's some elements that I'm just unsure about, right? You know, like, you know, we cracked out the Tiger Driver 92, right? It's 92, his version, right? To use on Swerve, right? This was a move that, you know, that Danielson used, that he used on Danielson, and it effectively killed Bryan Danielson for a while. And, you know, and he had this struggle with his conscience as to whether or not this was a good thing to do and whatnot. And yet, like, here he goes, he's just pulling it out of nowhere, you know, and using it. And it's the same thing. He did it with MJF as well. You could argue that he's using it against, you know, scumbag heels like Swerve, like MJF, and he probably doesn't have an issue with it, but like, he has no remorse. He's like very, very gleeful when he pulls it out, right? It's just like, hey, now he does it, and he even chants into the crowd, Tiger Driver, and you're like, this was a move that not that long ago you felt like you were in the grasp of a moral quandary as to whether or not you should use it, and now it's just like, hey, I'm gonna call it out. I'm just gonna say the name of the move. You know, like, you know, there's just little discrepancies like that just unnerve me. That just make me kind of upset. Like, you know, like when he got the piss beat out of him by Mark Davis, and, you know, the Death Riders carried him away, right? What'd they do? They took him away. They kidnapped him. You know, what did they do to him? You know, type of thing. To all that week, did he stay in captivity there? Did they patch him up and send him home, and then said come back and train with it? Like, you know, it's a not a big deal, but it's also something where I'm like, look, if you are creating a story, a tale, you're weaving a tale around this wrestling match, make it make sense to me. Otherwise, just stick to telling pro wrestling angles. But if you're going to create this narrative around it, the narrative better make sense, because I'm not a complete fool, and I do consume other forms of media, and I feel like I'm a pretty good judge when things are good, when stories are good and stories are shit. Now, would I be watching this story here specifically if it wasn't in the context of a pro wrestling environment? No, probably not. I don't think it's all that compelling, but it's compelling enough for pro wrestling. I really don't hate it. I really, really, really don't hate it. But like, I'm really reserving complete judgment until we get to the end of this cycle, when Will wins the title in the UK. That's where everything's going to wrap up. Thank you for your question. Meggy Okena asks, do you think the media will ever get the particulars of the media deal for the true number 2 wrestling promotion, TNA? No, I think at this time, I think at this point, no. Not unless they, no. The short answer is no. I don't think anyone cares at this point. Because if people did care, I think actual entertainment reporters would have brought it up. I think like the actual, like the trades would have picked up on it, and they would have leaked it. Just like the terms of AEW's deal with Warner Brothers were leaked and whatnot. I don't think people care enough, and the way things are going, they're not. Unless this all falls apart, unless the AMC deal is not renewed, and then eventually someone just leaks the details of the deal that once was. But at this point, honestly, I do not think anyone cares. I still care. I would absolutely love to know just how much money TNA was making here or is making here. I would be really excited to see that. Because I just want to point and laugh ultimately, but the true shocker would happen if they renew, and if they renew, the details have to leak at some point. That if there's a renewal, we got to find out. We can't just keep flying blind here. That'd be preposterous. Hey, Boris, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Do you think AEW should push Ospreay the same way the Fed pushes Cody? Ospreay greater than the AEW logo. Wait, you feel that WWE pushes Cody more than that Cody is more important than the promotion? Is that what I'm understanding? Because if that's what you mean, I disagree. I don't think WWE perceives Cody bigger than anyone else. In fact, I think they're not pushing Cody as strong as they could. They have dialed him back, and he doesn't feel interesting, and he definitely doesn't feel as hot as he once did. That I absolutely like. If I'm understanding it that way, I think it's a troll question. I think it's an interesting question. They've pushed wrestlers as hard as the logo. Yeah, but then they always dial them back. The last time they did that, they lost control of Stone Cold, and he decided to just walk away, and then they were fucked. And Vince said to himself, never again. So, just like a guy like Cena, and then, they dial him back, and then they push him again, and they dial him back. No one is bigger than the Fed. And I don't know how you push Will Ospreay to that level either. I don't know why. I don't know why you do it. I think they're doing a good job right now with them, quite frankly. Any thoughts regarding TK's Christian gimmick? Is that what it is? It's a gimmick? I don't know. He can do whatever he wants. He can be as spiritual as he likes. I don't think WWE perceives any talent bigger than the company. Just look at the way they ask talent to take pay cuts. No, and especially TKO. TKO is going to make damn sure that there is no one on that roster that is bigger than the company. It's the UFC tactic. Dana White did the same thing with all of his big fighters. He didn't care if the big fighters started leaving or decided, oh, I'm not going to fight for you guys anymore. He's like, who cares? I'm going to build more guys. That's the exact same attitude that WWE has right now. That is exactly the same attitude they have right now. It's like, they don't care. They've got a bunch of people hanging around in warehouse in Orlando. They can turn them into WWE superstars at any given moment. And it'll work too. They've got Kendall Gray, haven't you heard? Oh, it came in pretty surprisingly. Well, there you go. Those were the questions. Thank you, everyone, for your lovely, lovely Q&A questions to round off the show tonight. I appreciate it tremendously. And we're gonna wrap things up for this lovely Monday evening. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I appreciate it tremendously. You are always welcome here. So Mr. Warren Hayes Show will be available on your favorite podcast application starting this Wednesday. Well, not starting this Wednesday, but as of this Wednesday. And then the Dynamite review, of course, on Thursday, and another live stream on Thursday. Holy cow! And then we have the return of the G1 Climax 36 daily coverage continuing this weekend as the tour flies back to Japan. We're going to Hokkaido to continue with a night of A block action, but also includes Gabe Kidd versus Drilla Maloney, which didn't happen on the Chicago show because Gabe Kidd has visa issues that he had to deal with. Can't come into the States for some reason, but to work, to be precise. So there you go. We're going to wrap it up here for tonight. Thank you all very much for showing up. Have a great rest of your evening and have a very good week as well. Enjoy it. You deserve it. I'll see you next time.